Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and we are back again for the Real 50 Over 50. And today's an incredibly special day because it is our 50th interview. So it's the 50th interview of the Real 50 Over 50. And today we have somebody special with us, and I am going to introduce you to her, and we're going to dive right into this conversation. So, Mallika Malhotra is the brand CEO. She's an award-winning brand strategist, mentor, and speaker. And after years of working in corporate advertising on renowned brands like L'Oreal and Oil of Olay, she now empowers women entrepreneurs to get clear on their brand message, to find their power niche, and become sought after experts. And we are going to go and have a deep conversation about branding, mentoring, how you show up, visibility, and a bunch of other things. If you've got comments, put them in and we will respond. If you're watching on the replay, tag us and we will come back and keep this conversation going. Welcome, Malika. I'm so happy to have you here to celebrate the 50th interview. That's a big
Yes, thank
milestone.
you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here. I'm so happy to be here, number 50. So, so much
And
fun.
we're not stopping because we're booked all the way into January of next year. So the 50
Incredible.
over 50 is just like a figurehead title at this point.
That's amazing.
So let's dive right in because I want everybody to learn about you. So, what changed for you when you turned 50? And you're on the younger end of the spectrum for our community.
Yes. So I'm currently 51. So I turned 50 a year and some ago. And I think, what changed for me was I really stopped caring what everybody else thought. I
Yeah.
didn't need to seek that validation externally. It took me a long time to get to this point, but I think finally, after you've lived 5 decades, you finally boost that internal confidence that it really only matters what you think or the circle around you, the tight circle around you. And you don't need to be looking for approvals externally. It's really an inside game.
Yeah.
And I think having that belief now, that self-worth now has been a game changer because now I can make decisions in a different way. Now I can, you know, come out and share my voice in a stronger way. Now I can make, bold moves in a different way. But for so long, it was a process. It was, an evolution to get here. But now that I'm 50, I feel like I've arrived and I can do things in my own way and I don't really care what others think so much about it.
Yeah. And I can attest after having 49 conversations over the last year that it only gets better.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Okay. So I know that there is a big part of your business is mentoring, and you mentor women to become leaders in whatever area of business or industry they work in, or just personally leading themselves. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what does that progression look like when you're working with somebody?
Yeah. So, what I do with my clients is I help them strategically develop their brand. I help them figure out their messaging, help them boost their visibility so that, they can become that go to expert. And a lot of that work is through mentorship and it's, building up their mindset, giving them, the right tools so that they can build the business. And what I
Hmm.
love about that is it's about empowerment, right? It's about helping empower them to see that they can reach these bigger goals. They can dream bigger. They can take up space. They can go all in on their skills and their strengths and be a leader. I think often as women, as mothers, we tend to nurture everybody else. And we tend to maybe play a little small because it feels safe. And I'm really trying to break those barriers for the women I work with. I want them to feel the confidence,
Hmm.
become leaders, break into the next best version of themselves. And it's hard to do when you're on your own, right? Because you're getting so swamped in all of those nitty gritty details. And sometimes it requires an outside perspective, a mentor to see things you can't see.
Yeah, totally. I do a lot of the same work. Now, when you're doing this, like, what's either surprised you through going through this process, or what comes up as like a surprise to your clients?
Yeah, I think what comes as a surprise to them is that they already have everything within them.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of unlocking it and having the confidence to share it with others.
Mhm.
Um, when we do the deep strategic work of looking at, their offers or their clientele and looking at the data, it just requires me to show them, like, this is what you're so good at. It's right here. The data is at your fingertips. And it's almost like their mind is blown because
Yeah.
they just haven't seen it. They just don't have the time to look at it. And when
Mhm.
someone else is telling them, it's almost like this puzzle, all the pieces come into play. And
Mhm.
then there's this transformation, which is the most beautiful thing to kind of see them emerge now with
Mhm.
more confidence, ready to share their knowledge, ready to stand in their expertise and move the needle of their business. They want more
Yeah.
because they realize that they always had it.
Yeah.
They just haven't been able to unlock it.
Yeah, their capacity changes.
Yes.
And there's one, like, topic that comes up often when we're having these conversations, is that it's not so much a transformation, but it's a remembering. It's like the things that we pushed aside to be able to accommodate something else or someone else or a job or a family member,
Mhm.
and then we have the space to actually start to think about, who we wanna be, and who we wanna be was actually somebody we already were. So is that
Especially
something
at
that you
this
see too?
Yeah, especially at this stage of life, right?
Yeah,
Being 50 or over 50, we have a wealth of experience,
yeah,
right? We have experience and expertise. And sometimes it's just about combing through that, what we've
mm,
already done, and seeing how we can leverage that into what we're doing now and
mhm,
doing it better.
yeah, that's amazing. And so now we've touched a little bit on confidence, but let's go a little deeper into how having that brand clarity really boosts confidence and I don't know, boosting confidence, I think, minimizes what this actually does, but it really creates this whole new level of confidence that most people haven't had before when they can start to see themselves through their business.
Yeah, I think clarity is a key component of how you show up in the world. Because if you're
Mhm,
not clear on yourself, on your values, on the purpose behind your business, on the vision that you want to create, on the people that you should be serving, then it feels very muddled and murky. And you're not able to kind of step into that leadership because you have doubts and you're scattered and you're not feeling so sure about yourself. When you can do the work and get crystal clear on the foundation of your business and your brand, who are you meant to work with? What is your special superpower? How are you different? All of a sudden, you show up differently. All of a sudden, you want to amp up your visibility because you're clear on who you are as a brand and you're proud of who you are as a brand.
yeah,
It's when we don't do that work and we're unclear that you'll see that maybe you're too inspired by the competition and you start to look like them.
mhm,
Maybe you're too confusing because you're offering too many different things to too many audiences because you haven't made decisions to go all in on a certain something. That's when your confidence level goes down because you start to feel like a fraud or you start to feel like you're not in that zone of genius. You have some imposter syndrome. So it's when you do the work and get really clear and you start practicing and you start sharing and you get the feedback and you start refining and really sharpening the tool of your brand. That is when your business starts skyrocketing and it's a game changer.
and it all becomes easier.
Yes, totally becomes easier.
Yeah. Alright, let's this is a question I know we've both had to answer more than once. So, like, let's have a discussion around how there is no difference between personal and business branding, and there really is no difference between who you are personally and who you are professionally.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, if you are an entrepreneur and you have a business brand, you also have a personal brand. And in 2024, especially with visibility, social media, all the different platforms, they are integrated
Yeah,
because people do business with people. not faceless corporations, right? They want to understand who you are. What do you believe in? What inspires you, right? Why did you start this business in the first place? Those values, those stories are what they're going to cling to and feel in alignment with, and then choose to work with you.
Mhm.
So, in my opinion, I do feel like there is a merger between personal and business. You can't really separate them, especially if you're a solopreneur. It is integrated and it gives your business depth and soul,
Yeah,
right?
it really does, because you get to show all the parts of who you are, and, what happens what I see happening often is people will come to me, and they'll have 4 Instagram accounts, and I'm like, "Why?" Like, "You're one person, why do you have 4 Instagram accounts?" I mean, the only reason to have 4 Instagram accounts is if you're speaking to 4 different audiences, but if you're speaking to one audience with 4 accounts, all you're doing is confusing them and creating an, like, ridiculous amount of work for yourself.
Yes. I mean, the only incidence or example I would say is if you wanted to keep it maybe separated, is if you had a big agency with multiple faces of the brand, right?
Mhm.
And you wanted to separate the founder because
Mhm.
the business brand is going to take prominence. But
Mhm.
even that, they're still going to be linked
Yeah.
because people want to know who started this. Why did they start it? What are they passionate about? What are they trying to change in the industry? They're still going to want to know that. You think about Spanx and Sarah Blakely. You still want to know about Sarah,
Yeah.
right? So I think there are some instances if they're bigger businesses, corporations, but you're still going to want to link that personal
Mhm.
brand of the founder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There has to be somebody that holds the voice. Otherwise, you lose that connection. Yeah. And like, what are the reactions that you get when people come to you asking this question and you tell them like it's one?
Yeah, people get scared. They
Yeah.
feel like, I don't, how can I be too personal? I
Yeah.
want to keep the integrity of my brand so that it's polished and professional. And I think it doesn't work in today's world. Again, people do business with people. They want to learn about you. They want you to pull the curtain. They want transparency. They
Mhm.
want to see the imperfect. They want to hear about your story, right? That is what's going to get them to feel closer to you as a brand and stay with you as a brand.
Yeah. And here's the other thing that they feel that I've noticed. There's nothing to hide behind.
Right.
So
Yes.
let's dive into this.
Yes, the invisible expert syndrome. A lot of my clients and women in my community, they come to me for this. They feel like an invisible expert. They
Yeah.
have skills, they have strengths, they're good at what they do, but for some reason, there's a gap, right? They're being overlooked, they're being underpaid, not their
Mhm.
worth, and they're overwhelmed. And so, how can we become not the invisible expert, but the go to in demand expert? And to me, that's all about messaging. It's all about positioning. It's all about visibility. It's
Mhm.
all about creating a very tight positioning for yourself in the market, which comes through niching your brand, right? So you're
Mhm.
not trying to be everything to everyone. You're
Mhm.
actually trying to be, a certain specific solution for a smaller audience.
Yes.
And whatever you create becomes like this love letter
Mhm.
for this audience. So it's relevant and it resonates and it builds that relationship even deeper.
Yeah, it's so important, and the positioning piece, is it's a piece that people often leave out, and it's the most important part because, like, who's it for?
Right. I mean, people jump to logos and the
Yeah,
pretty colors and
yeah.
the website. And I'm not saying you don't need them. Yes, you do. But before you get to that, you need to know the foundation of your brand,
Mhm,
the strategy behind your brand. What do you stand for? How are
mhm,
you different? Who are you serving? What is
yes.
the transformation you create?
Mhm,
Those are going to be critical to the colors you choose and the
yeah,
fonts and what your logo looks like and the copywriting. People like to jump to the sexy stuff. I know it's fun and
so
creative, but
it's fun and creative, and those are, like, tasks. The foundational work is hard work.
it is hard work, especially if you're doing it on your own. It is
Yeah,
definitely hard
it's
work.
it's too hard to do on your own. It's never done properly if you do it on your own. You need somebody to kind of guide you through it because it's like therapy.
Yes, it is. It's true. Because when you do it on your own, you're stuck in the minutia of your business.
No, well, where you get stuck is you get stuck in some trauma story from 1985, is that's where you get stuck. And you need somebody to kind of pull you through with the things that need to be done and showing you what's relevant and what you can let go of. And it's it's amazing. It's amazing what like the first time I went through this process properly, because before that it was just slapping things together. But the first time that I was actually taken through a branding process, it took twice as long as I thought it would. I cried every day.
Oh my gosh.
And it was not, it was not that who was helping me. It was that what I was going through.
Right.
I had to let go of a lot of like toxic things from my past employment and the first iteration of my business. And I had to let go of a lot of things, and that stuff is not easy to do.
Right.
And you're actually like looking at the things that could be perceived as mistakes or failures. But when you have somebody there with you guiding you through the process, you're turning that around for them and saying, no, it wasn't a mistake or a failure. It's something that brought you forward. Because like you wouldn't be here right now if you didn't do that thing.
Right.
And if you don't have somebody helping you, you can get stuck in that space where you never like grow past that.
Right.
So, like when I think of branding or messaging or anything that's foundational in the creation of a business, I always view it as an investment, not a cost.
I love that. Yes. It's true. I mean, this is an investment that you'll be making in your business for the long term, right? It's not a short term quick fix. This is the foundation of what everything, your marketing, your
Yes.
website, your social media, your speaking, like everything is going to come from the brand strategy and story.
Yeah, absolutely. And, these are the things that open up the doors to possibilities and give you that confidence to walk into a room that maybe you don't quite belong in yet.
Right.
Maybe it's a few steps ahead of where you are, but when you feel like you've got yourself buttoned up, you can really accomplish and achieve more than you think you can.
100%. I mean, an example of that is sometimes when I work with or often when I work with my clients, we talk about the vision, where they want to be in 3 years or 5 years. And when you can get clear on that, it is such a confidence boost and it's so inspiring. And it becomes this catalyst for you to do the things that feel uncomfortable because you know of where you want to go, the future forecast of your business. So you do enter the rooms that maybe you didn't enter before, or you do say yes to the opportunities that would scare you to death, right? Because you're moving into that next version of your business and brand.
You got to see it to be it.
That's right.
So, like, now this is all part of the continuous journey of entrepreneurship, which, it's like having kids. They don't give you all the information right up front, right? It never ends. We're always iterating, we're always changing, we're always, refining things. And how does branding fit into that?
Yeah, I think branding is never one and done. It is always a work in progress. It is organic. It is always, you have to check the health of your brand. You have to check the marketplace, look at the competition. So I think that's a misconception. People think of it as like a logo where it's done and I'm done, but it's not. When you work on your brand, yes, you have a strong foundation, but you're always checking in with your ideal client to make sure that this message is resonating. You're always making sure that you're standing out from the rest of the options out there. And if you're not, you're going to have to make refinements and tweaks. You're always looking at where there are gaps in the marketplace. Are there other opportunities that maybe your brand should niche into in order to grow even more? I mean,
Mhm.
my own brand is a great example of this in terms of evolution. So, I started off as a photographer for children, then moved into brand photography because I saw it as an opportunity because not many people were doing that in 2015. And as I did brand photography, going all in, I was doing it in a way where I would incorporate strategy because I thought
Mhm.
everybody would do. Of course, you have to do strategy when you're doing brand photography.
Isn't that an amazing moment when you realize that everybody doesn't do that?
Little did I know, no one else was doing, the huge intake of like understanding your
Yeah.
vision and mission and the ideal client and the marketing
Mhm,
plan. And while I was doing brand photography and focusing on that, then I had an opportunity to shift and also offer brand strategy. So then I did both of those things. So another little pivot there.
mhm,
And then a pandemic happens and no one wants to do photography. And I also had a move in my life where I moved from New Jersey to the state of Maine. And that
mhm.
changed in terms of clientele and culture and
Oh,
different
yeah.
things. And so saw an opportunity then to go more into strategy. So your brand will constantly change as long as you are still sticking to your skills and your strengths and your kind of zone of genius, but like reading the marketplace and the competition.
Mhm.
And also your lifestyle could be changing. And so you might need to shift the brand and business to fit the life that you want.
Exactly. It's more of an adaptation.
Yes.
And like I'm experiencing something similar now too because we have the real 50 over 50, but we've got 97 women.
Right.
So I went through about 2 months of should I rebrand this? And, I spoke to people and I agonized over it and I thought about it and I flipped a coin. I did everything. And ultimately, I just listened. I just stopped agonizing and I just listened. I listened to how people referenced it. I listened to how people introduced me around the brand. And it's here. If I change it, it's starting from scratch.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be the real 50 over 50, the wisdom revolution, and somewhere in the marketing language will be, well, we didn't stop at 50. We kept
Right.
going. But, like, I had a logo that I designed. I went right into all the stuff you said not to do. Um
But you did listen. So that's a huge part, right?
Well, I did. I was just what, because I've done this before and, like, I've got experience in this, so it's not like a fresh new thing to me. But, I went even with the experience, I went right into the anxiety producing side of it and the side that isn't gonna get me the solution first. And then I stopped and I said, "No, this is, like, unproductive." And the listening piece is just so important, and that's, like, what people so often don't do.
Right.
Because if you're creating stuff for some random person or for too many people, you're really creating it for no one.
Exactly.
Or
Exactly
you're
right.
yeah, so, yeah, it's just been all interesting. So while we're on the subject of visibility, we started there a little while back, but, it's something that we're both passionate about,
Mhm.
and, we both kinda get the importance of this. So we talked a bit about, like, the fear of being visible and, what stops people from being visible, but let's talk about the opportunity impact here, and what happens when you get rid of all that space gunk and you're ready to go, and, like, how does it unlock opportunities?
Yeah, I think in 2024, you have to be the face of your brand. You have to show up and have that as a connecting point with your audience. And the more that you show up, the more that you actually demonstrate leadership because people who show up and are visible, you build that know, like, and trust factor with your audience. And so it's important. It's important to be the face of your brand, to show up either in reels or stories or in brand photography. You cannot hide behind your website or your products and services because when people are shopping around to decide if they want to work with you or somebody else, very much of that decision making is based on personality. Do I vibe with this person? Am I going to want to build a relationship? Because often if you're hiring a copywriter or a coach, it is a long-term relationship. It's not
Mhm.
like done in a day. And so the more visible you are, the more that person has a chance to understand who you are, what you can bring to the table, what kind of results you can bring. That know, like, and trust factor is so important. So we can't be hiding. People who hide, it almost hurts them even more,
It
right?
does. It does. It does. Or that they feel like they need to have a different persona online.
Right. And that's the other thing, is that if you have imagery that doesn't look like who you are in real life, that is the worst, right? Like, you show up on a virtual coffee chat and you're like, who is this person? Like, it doesn't look like. You need to embrace who you are at this point right now, right? And so, here's another plug for embracing the age that we are in right now. It is okay. People are not hiring you because of what you look like. They're hiring you because of the results that you can deliver,
Yeah.
and to trust in yourself and to just show up. It is worse for your brand and your business if you're using a photo of yourself from 25 years ago. And when you have the opportunity to meet that client or prospect,
They're like, "Who are you?
exactly.
Where's your daughter?"
Yes, yes, exactly.
Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you something because this brings something up for me. How do you feel about those AI generated, profile images or branding images?
Yeah, I'm just not a big supporter of that. I think, you can take a selfie, a good selfie with your camera. So why would you want to do something that was artificially generated, right? We have the tools to use to create authentic images. And now we can tell
Yeah.
the images that are AI generated. And I just
Mhm.
think it casts a little bit of skepticism. It's like, why are you using this instead of showing up as your real self?
Exactly,
In
that's how
my
I
opinion, I feel like it does a little damage. I mean, if you're doing it for fun, that's one thing. But if you're
Mhm,
using it for business,
mm,
why can't you invest in real photography?
yeah,
Does that say something about your business and what you're able to afford and what you believe in, that you believe that you should use something that's artificial versus using something that's authentic?
mhm.
So I would be very careful of using AI images as your primary source of images for your brand.
That's exactly how I feel too. Um, mm, yeah. Yeah, it's funny because, I'm thinking of letting my gray come out. And I went for a haircut a couple of weeks ago, and I said to the woman who cuts my hair, I said, "We have to be able to do this in a day. There's no lingering roots going on." And she said, "Whenever you're ready, I've got you." And that's what I kept thinking of is like, like I'm gonna look like some kind of like fake image.
Yeah. People can
And I
tell. They look
yeah.
fake a little bit, and then you end up seeing, like, "Why she's wearing the same outfit as that other woman in the picture," So then it's like, "Oh my god, that is just terrible."
Yeah, I agree 100%. Okay, so, last question we have here for you is why is niching a game changer? And I know that this is a big part of the work that you do.
Yes, this is my obsession, and many are on board and many are not, and that is okay. This is a strategy. It's a strategy that has worked for my own business, and it's a strategy that I sort of dove real deep in to see how it has affected many of my clients. And so it's the idea of not being a Jane of all trades, and instead going all in your area of expertise, becoming a specialist, and also serving not everyone, but a more specific audience, a
Mhm,
targeted audience. And it just helps because a lot of us don't have the resources or the time or the energy to serve everyone well. It's inefficient, right? And so when we can look at the marketplace and the competition and assess our skills and our strengths and see, is there a pocket that we can own? So it's not this red ocean, we call it, where
mm,
everybody's a bloodbath and you end up competing on price. And
mm,
instead, it's about value and expertise, going to a blue ocean where nobody else is. That is what is a game changer, right? And it helps you not only become well known in your reputation, but it helps your referral system because you're painting a picture so clearly in your network's mind of exactly who you are and who you serve and how you're different.
Yeah.
And so, examples, right? You think
Mhm,
about Dry Bar. It's not just a hair salon like everybody else that does color and cuts and manicures and waxing. It is hyper focused on giving you the best blowout you'll ever want. And
mhm,
they can charge a premium price now because they are the go to for blowouts for professional women.
mhm,
You look at brands like Nothing Bundt Cakes,
mhm.
right? Started off as a small, mom and pop shop, grandmother's recipe, bundt cakes. Soon they became known for bundt cakes, became more of a franchise. You can't find cookies, other cakes there. It's Nothing Bundt Cakes. You can get them in different sizes, you can get them in different flavors, you can get them, for different occasions, but that's what they're known for. The medical industry, general practitioner, if something's wrong with you with your brain, are you going to go to your general practitioner? No, you are going to do whatever it takes. You're going to pay whatever it takes to go to the specialist.
Mhm.
So it's that sort of practice that you can apply to your brand so that you're more memorable, you're more referable, and you're more in demand.
Yeah, and it's also very grounding, like, when you get opportunities or you get an idea or somebody comes to you with something, and it really helps you make that decision, "Is this for me or not?" Because, this is what I'm doing, I'm not doing this.
Right. And it's okay to be polarizing.
Yeah,
That's like branding should be polarizing. I know that sounds like, what is she
yeah,
talking about? But you should repel the people who are not meant for you and attract the right people. And that's why your messaging, your brand needs to be niche so that it is crystal clear.
mhm,
This is what my area of specialty is. This is who I'm meant to serve. This is how I'm different. This is my solution that I do to get you results. Those are sort of the four pieces of building what I call a bullseye brand, which is the
mhm,
same thing as a niche.
that's amazing. Okay, this has been really good, I love this conversation. So, um, here's Malika's website, check me connect with her there, but I always ask guests one last question. Can you leave us with a wisdom bomb, something you want everybody to know? And that'll help them right away. They might be able to get some instant action out of it.
Yeah, I think, what has helped me being an entrepreneur for over 2 decades and all of the pivots and turns that you've heard about is find your people, find your women, your community, whoever it is, because this work is hard to do alone. And Google is great, but it cannot help you over the humps, right? And sometimes even your own family, even your husband or your parents, they just don't understand what the journey is as an entrepreneur.
They're in another world.
And so you really need to seek that out, either find it or create it on your own.
Mhm.
And you will see such a difference to get that support, to get people to challenge you, to get people to hear you, to share, their experience. It is that camaraderie that's going to get you to the next years, the next 2 years and 3 years, and really help you progress as a business. It has been a game changer for me to find those people. And sometimes, I pay for those groups and sometimes I make them on my own. But it's too hard to do this work
It is,
by
and
yourself.
you need somebody that's gonna believe and celebrate your crazy ideas.
Yes. And that's why people like you who are building this community, right, for women over 50 to celebrate us, it's so important, to have that network and that community and that celebration and recognition. And so if you can find those pockets of people, those communities, seek them out. Don't be shy. Just really try to build that because it will help you in your business.
It totally will. So, thank you very much for being here today for our 50th interview. So excited about that, and please connect with Malika on her website, put comments here, tag us, we will respond and keep the conversation going. And we will be back in March with more interviews for International Women's Month, and we're going to have some celebrations around that too. And thank you again, Malika. This has been really great. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be here.
Thanks. See you all next week.